Good evening, ma'am. I'm good. I'm Julina Espinosa. I'm going to discuss about the moral self, living with purpose, personal value, and philosophy of life. Intended learning outcomes. Number one, explain the basic concept related to morality and moral self. Number two, identify behaviors characteristic of the different stages of moral development. Number three, relate the development of personal value to the development of philosophy of life. Number four, state the different influence or factors related to the moral self. Number five, evaluate practices that lead to the development of desirable moral values and apply concept on morality in particular situation to development a philosophy of life. Quotation on morality. The following are quotation on morality. Read read all of them and pick one that appeals to you the most. In short paragraph, explain your ideas or interpretation of the quotation. The perfecting of oneself is the fundamental base of all progress and all moral development. Confucius. Family and moral value are so central to everything that I am. Marian Ward Edelman. Try not to become a man of success, but rather try to become a man of value. Albert Einstein. Wisdom, compassion, and courage are the three universally recognized moral qualities of man. Confucius. Morality is the basis of things. The truth is the substance of morality, of all morality. Mahatma Gandhi. Only a life lived for others is the life worthwhile. Albert Einstein. Great values are built on strong moral foundation. Men become great when they allow these values to take root within their soil and live by them. Lincoln Patch. We are all born as empty vessels, which can be shaped by moral values. Jerry Springer. Morality is the judgment to distinguish right and wrong, vision to see the truth, courage to act upon its education to that which is good, integrity to stand by the good at any price. Moral self, living with purpose, personal value, and philosophy of life. Morality. Every day, people are confronted with dilemmas. Solving them requires one to decide on what kind of action or responses to make. In some instances, it is easy for one to respond to difficult situation, while in some cases, choosing the best response is difficult. A dilemma is a problematic situation in which is difficult choice must be made. Must obey time that time the consequence of any of the choice or option are perceived to be negative and enabling to the person involved. The kind of responses or action taken are made when one is in quandary serves as a good test of a person's level of moral development. Moral is related to the sense or a standard that determines what is right and what is wrong. It is distinguishes correct 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 from incorrect or appropriate from inappropriate. Morality refers to the system or beliefs and value that ensure that individuals will keep their obligation to others in the society and behave in ways that do not interfere with the right and interests of others by Jerry Zimbardo 2002. Decision making is understandably difficult. The degree of which, depending on the situation, when faced with a predicament, exercise our best judgment on the good appropriate action to take. Make it a point to always choose the right action, even if the situation is not problematic. It is it takes constant practice to make appropriate decisions. It is also better to start doing it at an early age, so when you reach adulthood you would have already internalized and develop a good sense of what is right or what is wrong. This is way it will be easy for you to practice moral action as a mature and responsible adult. An individual who has a good sense of what is right and what is wrong will be an honest and upright member of the community. No. Moral reasoning. Moral reasoning is refers to the judgment people make about what courses of action are correct or incorrect in particular situation by Jerry and Zimbrado 2002. Reasoning is a cognitive skills but influence moral development. Lawrence Kohlbreit 1958 came up with a theory of moral development by studying the concept of moral reasoning. This theory is shaped by the Tate up to Piaget stage of intellectual development. Piaget theory asserts the intellectual development proceed in stage or levels. The first is the sensor sensory motor stage, in which the child learns and develops knowledge about he or she environment by relating sensory experience to motor actions. It it is a it is followed by the profe- proper preparational stage in which the children learns to use symbols like words or mental image to solve simple problems. The third level is the concrete operation, uh, operational stage in which the children develops the ability to perform a number of logical operation on concrete objects that are present. So the final level is the formal operation stage in which the individuals acquires the ability to solve abstract problems in logic manners. These are the examples. So, moral reasoning is the progression is related to the development of moral reasoning. Thus, the evolution of one's sense of right and wrong is making decision depends on her or his level of intellectual development. His connection implies implies that the advanced levels of intellectual development are the associated with higher stage of moral development. In the same way, lower stage lower stage of intellectual development are associated with earlier stage of moral development. A child cannot exhibit advanced level of moral development if he or she is still at early age of intellectual development. So, for example, uh, two to professional 2 to 7 years old understand world through language and mental image. So, concrete operational 7 to 12 a 7 to 12 years understand world through logic thinking and categories. So, formal operational 12 years old is understand and understand world through hypothetic thinking, scientific reasoning. Manisha is Kohlberg stage of moral reasoning. Table 4% the levels of one's moral development along with the reasons for his her behavior. Jerry Lombardo 2003. So level stage or reason for the moral behavior. Pre-conventional morality. Muna siyang yung stage. Pleasure, pain, orientation. Number 2, cost, benefit, orientation, reciprocity. So, ang iyang reason for moral behavior is to avoid pain, punishment, or getting caught to get reward. Conventional morality. Ang iyang stage is good children orientation, law and order orientation. So, ang iyang reason for moral behavior is to gain acceptance and avoid disapproval. To follow rules and avoid censure by authorities. So, principles or post-conventional morality. Ang iyang stage is ethical principles orientation and cosmic orientation. Ang iyang reason for moral behavior is to achieve justice and avoid self-condemnation and to be true to universal principles and feel oneself part of a karmic direct that transcend norms. Lowest level of development. Self-preservation on self-interest, reason for one action and decision. Next level is guided by a more social or another oriented motivation. Children first comports with the value of the people he or she personally connects with, then gradually started to comport with the law of society. Yang highest level of moral development is decision making consider social justice and the good of society at large. Moral reasoning is strike a balance between individual rights and laws of society. Decision making is prioritization, reasoning, logical thinking help individual in making best position or option. When you are at the crossroad of making a decision, always go back to your goals and your philosophy of life as your guide. So, parenting styles and practices. The philosophy of biology, the physiological physiological or biological basis of moral and intellectual development has been discussed earlier. One other factor which affects the individual's development in the environment influence. It is characterized by force outside of the individual, like how he or she has been reared by his and her parents. The foundation of moral reasoning and development are laid at home. The home is where children first learn to distinguish right, appropriate behavior from wrong. Inappropriate behaviors. What happened at home, especially during the growing up years, is critical to personality development. So, parenting styles in raising their children, parents use different strategies called parenting styles. An expert on parenting, Diana Baumrind, 1967, came up with the 3 parenting styles, namely it um, authoritarian, authoritative, and permissive. So, authoritarian is parents attempt to shape, control, and evaluate the behavior and attitude of their children in accordance with the absolute set of conduct standard that usually comes from religious or respected authorities. They use harsh discipline and punishment. Ob- Obedience comes a virtue. These parents do not communicate well with their children and do not explain the rationale behind the rules and the consequence of their actions. They do not listen to the viewpoint of their children and may use force to ensure compliance. On on the other hand, authoritative parents direct their children activities in the rational and intelligent way. They are positive, posit, they are supportive, loving, and committed. Sup- Support a give and take relationship. Discuss the rules and policies with their children and encourage children to present their viewpoint. They offer explanations for rules and consequence. Also permissive parents are less controlling and behave with the with an accepting and non-punishing attitude toward their children's desire and actions and impulse. They use reason rather than direct power. They are warm and supportive but tend not to make their own rules even if they can benefit from parent, parent, parental rules. A fourth parenting styles was introduced by Maccabee and Martin in 1983. They coined the term uninvolved or neglectful parent who take on hands of stand in the affairs or stand on stand in the affairs of their children. Effects of parenting styles. Parenting styles influence the environment of children personality. Children exhibit distinct characteristic which they imbibe from the way their parents raised them. Number 1, authoritarian parents are demanding, and their children have least behavioral problems which are easy prevented. However, studies show that children reared under autocratic authorita- mm, autocratic parents tend to become withdrawn, fearful, and dependent. Number 2, authoritative parent are the authoritative parent have children who are independent, reliable, rational, and confident. These children generally feel good about themselves. Number 3, permissive parents rarely impose rules and non-punishing. Those they tend to have children who do not put structure and other in the things that they do. For these children, anything goes. And number 4, uninvolved parents. For uninvolved parents are detached and and, and indifferent of the needs of their children, such as, ch- as such children grow up feeling un, unloved and cannot follow instructions. It must be noted that the kids of parenting styles represent the dominant practices applied by parents in dealing with their children. It is it is important that when children misbehave, they are made to realize the consequence of their behavior. Or on the other hand, if they have the corresponding reward or motivation should be given. And thank you for listening. That's all. Thank you. Thank you, ma'am. God bless.